Good afternoon, and welcome to Coffee, Tech, and Opportunity. The team at Black Tech Jobs thanks you for joining us. I'm Will McNeil, the CEO and founder of Black Tech Jobs. And today we want to wish all of you a happy Women's History Month and Women's Equal Pay Day. So today we're going to be talking to a few folks from one of my favorite tech companies, Go Health. Fast-growing tech, med tech company here based out of Chicago with a national reach. We're going to be having a few folks from their firm join us to talk about women in technology, a different kind of conversation. So in this conversation, we've actually brought a male onto the panel. We think it's important, actually we think it's critical, that the mix of men and women work together in the advancement of women in technology. And for far too long, I think that men have been on the sideline, not because they didn't care, probably more likely because they didn't know where they fit in. And so we want to create a safe space for people to come and talk and share, and we invite you to ask us questions. So without further ado, I want to bring on our panelist. I'm going to start with Senwana Jamie Nix. She's the Director of Product and Engineering at Go Health. Here she is now. Hi, Senwana. And you are on mute, my friend.
Sorry about that. I said hi. Happy to be here.
Awesome. I was just telling everyone your name and title. We're going to bring Sarah on as well, and then we'll have everyone do a quick introduction, and then we'll get started with the program. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. We're going to bring everyone on, and then we're going to go right to introductions, and I want to ask Justin to join us. Justin, and let me start with Sarah, is a member of the data science team, a new member of the team at Go Health. And we're also going to bring on Justin Sims, who's the VP of engineering at Go Health. He's an 11-year veteran of the company. Justin.
Hi, Will. Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. How about we start with kind of what everyone does, and then maybe a little bit about your tech journey, and then we'll get right into the discussion.
Sounds good.
All right. How about we start with Sarah, since she's the newest person on the team? How about that?
Sounds good. Hey, everyone. Yeah, just joined Go Health 2 months ago. I'm currently a data scientist here. Previously spent some time in financial analytics. So had a couple short stints at a couple companies working on analytics related to anything for the finances of the company, and found myself really interested in data science even since graduating college. So jumped on the opportunity at Go Health when it appeared, and really excited and honored to be here.
Awesome, awesome. We'll go to Senwana. Senwana, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Senwana. I'm Director of Product here at Go Health. I've been at Go Health for a little over 3 years now. I started my career as an embedded software engineer. So I did engineering for a really long time, really enjoyed it. I was a tech lead at some point, and at some point I wanted to transition, still remain in tech because I enjoy tech a lot, but wanted to transition into either project management or product management. I moved over to project management and then eventually transitioned over to product management. I got a graduate degree in product development as well. And have been doing it probably for over 5 years now. Awesome,
awesome. And last but not least, Mr. Justin Sims.
I am Justin Sims. I'm the Vice President of Engineering at Go Health. At Go Health, I oversee kind of all of the execution-related activities related to developing new features and taking them kind of from the point at which product has identified an opportunity to market. So all of the activities of software development, quality assurance, our infrastructure and operations teams, site reliability, all of those kind of fall under my purview, and I oversee and lead those teams. Aside from that, I've been at Go Health for 11 years. You can tell by that length of time that I really love the company and I love working here. I love what we do. I think we do something amazing. We really help kind of improve the situation of healthcare in America. It's and I find it to be a great opportunity and a great company to work for. So I kind of love it here. And I love the opportunity, Will. Thank you for inviting me on to speak today.
Well, we're really excited about having you. There is one thing I do want to highlight about Justin's background. So whenever I meet someone in tech, and especially someone who's been around for a long time, I'm not trying to press an age issue with you, Justin. It just is what it is, my friend. Uh, but I want to highlight how this guy got started in technology. This birthday gift that you asked your parents to give you, was it 6 or 8 years old that
Yeah,
you made?
when I was young, it was I think it was 6. Although if you ask my sisters, I don't know, maybe they'll give different answers. But I think it was 6, and I really wanted to learn C. Well, I wanted to make video games. I just thought it was cool, and I like did my little research, and it said this is how you do it. You learn these languages. So I asked for the original Kernighan and Ritchie book, and I kind of read it, and I taught myself. I'm a self-taught programmer from a young age.
Awesome, awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Great backgrounds for all these great tech professionals joining us today. So let's dive into it. How about we start? We'll start with Sarah. You're new, so you have a new perspective of the company. How's diversity and inclusion going at your firm at Go Health?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I think I can speak for myself. I've only been with the company for 2 months. So my experience and starting remotely, I think my experience is very limited to just my team. But for my team specifically, I have, it's been incredibly welcoming and an inclusive environment. I have the freedom to express myself, including whatever little quirks I may have picked up just from my cultural background and growing up. And the freedom to bring up any issues or requests I might have without being judged. The team is very open to it. My manager is also very supportive of anything I might bring up and anything I might want to talk about. So yeah, I definitely feel empowered to affect change in this organization. I think as time goes on and as I'm able to see more of how diversity and inclusion is addressed at Go Health, I'm really eager. I know that I'll have the support I might need to start something if I want to, or ask about something, and I'm eager to learn more about what others think.
And so, Juana, you have a unique perspective. You're a woman leader with Latina background, and you have people in command and control and projects and influence that you have to drive across the organization. From your perspective, how is diversity going at Go Health?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Sarah said. Definitely feel empowered to make decisions here at Go Health at the leadership level, and feel that I have the support for any initiatives that I feel strongly about. And I think overall Go Health is doing good, and we're making progress around DEI efforts. But I think we also recognize that there's more work to do. We've launched a few initiatives where we provided company-wide DEI training. The leadership team received extra training around creating respectful workspaces at work. I know our recruiting team has various different partners across the industry to ensure that we're increasing diversity within our hiring and our professional workforce. And I'll say for the product team, when I started at Go Health, I was one of 5 product managers on the team, and I was also the only woman on the team. But since then, our team has more than doubled, and I think women make up probably about half of the product managers on the product team. So yeah, so we're making some progress, and I think we recognize that there's still more work that we have to do, and we're continuing to make that progress.
Awesome, that's awesome. And Justin, you, as the senior statesman on the team, you've seen the full evolution over this north of a decade. How have things progressed over your time, from your perspective?
I think things are going well, and I'll add in, I think there's still a lot more to be done. Having been here a decade, when I started, we were a much smaller company. Diversity and inclusion wasn't, at least not, it wasn't a visible priority for the company in the early years. I don't want to say, we were aiming for the opposite or anything, but we simply it wasn't a conversation that was happening. And in the past few years, it has become a conversation, and it's not only a conversation, but it's something we're going to keep talking about. And I've seen that commitment, both in myself as well as the leadership of the company. It's not just a one and done. We're going to say it and kind of move on. We're talking about it all the time. And I think fundamentally that's kind of table stakes. That's what we need to do right out of the gate, is just make sure we're talking about it. But I'm also seeing a lot of changes, beyond just efforts at diversity. I'm looking at how our company is looking at ourselves and our culture, and how we can open up our organization so that there can be spaces and space for everyone to contribute. Things like humility and modesty. And coming from a technology standpoint specifically, I can say, as particularly in the early years, we had a very much a culture where we were sharp and we were right when we were doing things, like, let's do something this way. And in technology especially, we really can get that kind of attitude of, like, this is the right way to do things, or this is the wrong way, and let's do it this way. And what I've seen in the culture, like from the top down in leadership, is this element of humility being introduced, this modesty that I could be wrong, or maybe I am wrong, or what are different ways that I can look at this. And I think that's leading the company to really open up new spaces, so that our diversity efforts, my hope would be that as we bring people on and we bring diverse voices into the organization, that really gives them the space and the opportunity to contribute in the ways that they can contribute.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I would say that's a great assessment, because there's no one company that's got it perfect yet. It is a process, and it has not yet to be proven to be an event. And I think the humility part of it, which I don't think people talk about enough, because sometimes some of the limitations in our execution of equity and inclusion come from our self-imposed fences that we put around ourselves of the things that we do. And when we're comfortable with knocking a few of those down, we find that we cross new paths, we enter new lands, we think about different ways to do things, and we include other people in the process in those decisions. I'd like to shift a little bit to another question. So, great things are happening, progress is being made. What do you think is your role in that? I'm gonna go in reverse and start with Justin. And so some people are probably watching this and they're like, well, this is supposed to be a discussion about women in technology. Half the panel and half the people that I'm looking at are men. And for those who are wondering, I want to address that elephant in the room, because we believe that it's critical for men to play an active role in the advancement of women in technology. And I think if we only leave it to the female part of our population to not only innovate and drive execution, we're going to be in the same place 5 or 10 years from now. And so the questions that I'm asking all of my male friends in technology at every level is, what can we do as men? How can we be more supportive? And equally important, are we asking those same questions of our female counterparts and females who are in leadership, and women who are on our teams? Because if we just assume that we can figure it out on our own, we're going to struggle. And we're kind of struggling right now, candidly. I think in some cases, a lot of men who want to do good, who are good allies, are struggling to figure out how they fit in. So I'll turn it over to Justin and actually ask a question, because I'm the only person here who's not a panelist. So I'm going to stop talking. So Justin, what do you view your role is and supporting women as we celebrate? We're right in the heart of celebrating Women's History Month.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can preface it by saying that women are so underrepresented in technology that for the men in the industry, it can be easy to kind of get lost in this little bubble and just forget about it or not think about it. And so first and foremost, I think the most critical thing is that we talk about it and we continue to talk about it and focus on it. Beyond that, from a recruiting perspective, given how women are underrepresented, I think we need to be very active in attempting to recruit women, to really bring them into the organization, rather than just passively hoping women come to the organization. And Go Health has been very focused on actively recruiting women to the organization. Beyond that, I think, if I'm trying to put myself in someone else's shoes here, coming into an organization where women are underrepresented, and you just don't see women necessarily like in the organization doing what you want to do, that's difficult, I think. And so from our perspective, I think we're really interested in what we can do is to try to build role models, to try to build female role models, help mentor, consciously develop women into leaders for your organization, and then put them in visible leadership positions, so that women can see other women leading the organization and functioning and performing very well in the organization, so that they see themselves in the organization. That's at least kind of my perspective. That's the way I've been trying to look at it. And as a leader, I think building an environment and a culture where those things are facilitated is kind of one of my key focuses.
Okay, awesome. Sarah, I'll go to you. You've joined the company, but you've worked some other places, so you have some perspectives from different organizations, and probably have had some experiences working with and around and or for predominantly male teams, especially in data analytics. What advice would you give to men, and what do you need them to do, even without advice? So even because sometimes we in one out the other, but what do you need men? What would you like to see men doing? Let's start there. And I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I love this question, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot as well, especially I think given recent events. I think a lot of what Justin mentioned, advocating, talking about it, highlighting, and prioritizing putting women in leadership positions, I think is huge. Growing up, I'll be honest, like there weren't a lot of female mentors and people I could look up to in positions that I wanted to be in, namely for me, data science. And that was actually something I really struggled with in my previous few roles, was looking for someone who was in a position. Everyone in the data science teams in the companies I've been a part of were all male, and that's never a bad thing that they were in those positions, but I think it was really hard for me to see myself then there and thriving in a position like that. So yeah, mentorship, I echo what Justin said there. I think that's huge. Another thing is maybe just expressing that they care and that they're thinking about it in more like subtle ways. Currently, I also on an all-male team. I'm the only female member on the my data science team. And I think something that I really appreciate is when they ask me how I'm doing, when they care to listen, and if I bring up something a little more personal related to either my ethnic background or my gender background, listening and asking questions and learning, and then maybe doing more research and asking again and just checking in. I think that's something that really means a lot to me. And yeah, believing in me when I express, talk about certain experiences I may have had, believing in me and supporting me. I think those are really huge.
Awesome. And Senwana, I want to do something a little different with you, because you are a skilled professional who's elevated multiple times throughout your career, advanced education. And so I'm interested in your perspective, both from how you would have liked to see your male supporters support you in your early career, and now as an executive, how that might look different. I'm as a male, I'm thinking it might not be the same. I could be wrong, but I'm interested in your perspective from the two different spectrums of your career. And then lastly, so you're getting bombarded with 3 questions, is as a female leader, how do you view your responsibilities as a mentor to other women who are hoping to get to where you are at some point in their career?
Yeah, for sure. So for the first question, I think for me, being a female and Latina in technology, definitely not a lot of people in technology that look like me. So I can say that early on, especially in my career, I felt a lot of imposter syndrome. When I graduated college, my first job, everyone on my team was white male over 40, and I was, Latina, younger, and it felt like I didn't really quite fit in. So I think making people feel comfortable, I think, is one thing, and acknowledging their opinions, especially, someone coming in to a new organization and still learning, is one thing. I think that goes a long way in helping someone feel secure. I know I felt a lot of that again early on in my career, and I've continuing to overcome some of those struggles. But when you're in a situation where no one looks like you, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. You might feel that you're afraid to ask questions, things like that. So I think going out of your way sometimes to make people feel uncomfortable is good. one thing I'll say about Go Health as well, and I think maybe Sarah touched on this a little bit, is as far as male, more men getting involved, is, we do have a Women in Go Health group at here at Go Health, and we have a Slack channel, and it's nice to see that there's male participation in that. I think when I first joined that channel, it was just women, and slowly over time, like, you're seeing more and more men participate in that and comment, and also encourage women, especially in Women's History Month, and provide feedback, and provide excitement around the kinds of things that we comment on in the Slack channel. So that's really encouraging and a good sign. As far as my role here, I think as a Latina in a leadership position at a tech organization, I think it's important for me to advocate for women and diverse populations in technology as a whole. And recruitment is one thing. I speak with our recruiting team occasionally just to make sure we're aligned on our recruitment efforts. I develop partnerships with external organizations outside of Go Health to make sure that we're considering and starting to develop a pipeline of diverse candidates within Go Health and within my team as well. So those are some of the things that I've done. And as I mentioned, our population of women within the product team has grown a lot. So I think with the women on my team, as well as others on my team, spending time to understand what are their goals, where do they want to be, and making sure that I'm helping them grow in their role and providing the right coaching to get them where they want to be. And
Awesome.
providing them the visibility that they need as well across the organization, so people can see the type of work that they do.
That's awesome. Visibility is important. That's good mentorship. I'm going to come back to you, Sanjuana. We are in Women's History Month. As a senior level Latina woman in technology, what does Women's History Month mean to you?
Yeah, so good question. I think for me, it's about recognizing the advancements that our society has made towards women, but also recognizing that we still have more work to do. I was born and raised in the South Side of Chicago. My parents immigrated from Mexico, and I have three sisters that, one of them is an engineering manager, another one is a nurse, and another one an entrepreneur. And when I look at us and see where we've come from to where we are now, we wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't for the advancements that our society has made towards women and towards people of color in general. So I think it's celebrating where we are now and the fight that it took to get where we are now, but also recognizing that there's more work for us to do, and thinking of creative ways to continue to advance, because that's also important.
Awesome. And Sarah, we'll go to you.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Sanjuana said. I think it's a celebration of where we've come from. It's also a reminder of how much more there might be to do. I think specifically for me and personally, it's time for me to really honor and remember the women who helped me get to where I am, namely my mother and a few really close friends. I think though they may not necessarily be in the same field that I am in, always believing in me, supporting me, and I think also maybe just the broader community for being a place that I think America is often sometimes talked about as like this land of dreams and where you can sort of be what you want to be. And I think I have been able to experience a lot of that, largely in part because of the successes of the women who've come before me and the ways that they've been able to build up in society this idea that women can be successful and been great examples of that. So
awesome. Justin?
For me, I think back to being a child when I was young, and my parents divorced when I was young, and my mother was often very stressed out, and she was working and she was supporting us, and I recall being about that age where I was starting to learn the program, but 6 or 7, and coming home and struggling with my math homework, and I have a sister who's 2 years older than me, and who, she was 8 or 9, used to sit patiently with me and help me with my homework day after day after day. And so thinking back on that, it's kind of a personal reminder about the just profound impact that women have, starting with my sister, but beyond, have had on my life personally. And then you can expand that into really what I'll echo what Samwana said about the profound impact that women as a group have had on society and our culture in general, and just at every level, from the personal to the wider society. Women's contributions have been significant. But I always bring it back to that personal element and how it impacted me.
I have a similar story, and so some people often ask, "Well, why are you invested? Every year you're doing something big to invest in women and technology." And mine, like you, Justin, comes from a personal story. My mother was a domestic. She's the daughter of sharecroppers, and talk about a bootstrap story to see her granddaughters, my daughters, grow up and build successful careers, graduate from college, build their own families. So within my own reach, both backward and forward, I've seen the evolution and progress of women, and the conversations I have now with my daughters as they're building their professional careers, and the questions that they're having navigating their corporate lives now. It further pushes me to think that there's more work to do as they manage workplace conflict, and they assume now that I actually know all the answers, which I sadly don't. So Sanjuana and Sarah, I may be calling you for help. And so I think that mentorship, both amongst women who are senior and below. So my daughters continue to search for quality mentors in their individual locations, and then I think men finding ways not just to be mentors, I think also to be mentored. So reversing that dynamic, the assumption that even though you may even be in a more senior position, that there's an opportunity for you to learn. And I think that mentorship, when it's going well, is always two-way. And that if you're mentoring and not asking questions and seeking to learn from your quote unquote mentee, that you're missing the boat. And so for those companies and those leaders, executives who may watch this, and you have a mentor who is female, do not miss the opportunity to be mentored. There's a great opportunity for learning and coaching at every skill level and every skill type. And so I've seen that work well across ethnic, gender identity. And then it really makes you a better leader for all kinds of people that you might lead over time. And so I'll pause there because, again, I am not a panelist. I'm just the person asking questions. So the next question I have, and then we're going to turn it over to our panel, to the folks who are watching this. So I want to add this really quick. So thanks everyone again for joining us for Coffee, Tech, and Opportunity. And as you're thinking about the question of if you want to be a part of this team, there are lots of opportunities. This is a very fast-growing company. I want to plug Jake, who's a technical recruiter. And Jake, I'll put his LinkedIn profile in the chat so that you can find it. So he's invited anyone and everyone who's actively looking for an opportunity and looking for a great place to work to reach out to him. And I think that's quite the task for Jake to take on. But I'll roll to our last question, and then we'll turn it over because we'll have just a couple minutes left before we need to shut down. What do you see? And we'll start with Justin and go backwards. What do you see as the greatest challenge for women of color specifically? And then we're Black Tech Jobs, so everyone's looking at us and they're like, wow, well, you have a really diverse platform. What most people don't know about us is we're also a diversity consultancy as well. And we take a 360-degree view of diversity across all points of intersection. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring that up. So I'd like to get your perspective, because that's one of the micro minorities in our population in technology, most frequently underrepresented. A lot of things have happened in the world over the last year that's highlighted some awareness there. And I'll start with Justin. What do you think the challenges are for women of color and specifically for Black women?
I think it's going into an environment where you're significantly underrepresented and where, the environment necessarily wasn't designed for you. It was, it was designed for a population that's currently represented, overrepresented, and that's difficult. What I mentioned earlier, the lack of visible role models. Essentially, you're going to an environment where you're kind of the trailblazer in a certain sense, if that. I hope that makes sense. Like you're going to an environment where you need to define your path, where the people who are potentially your role models or who you're going to be interacting with the day to day don't share the context of your background or the way that you've experience the world. And so you have to navigate all these problems, without a lot of visible role models or people to kind of stand there and mentor you that share your understanding of the world and your way of interacting with the world. And so it's kind of on you to blaze that new path, and that can be really difficult. And stepping away from any talk about who you are or something else, that's just a difficult task in itself, to blaze a new path, to step into an area where you kind of need to lead. And it's such a difficult task. And so I think it all comes back to that. It's an underrepresented, it's an area where you're underrepresented and people don't share your background. And it's such a difficult thing to walk into.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah, how about you? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Justin said, and I think, speaking personally, I think it's really hard carrying maybe some of the things that I've grown up with and I've been taught that are different than what I guess Americans tend to naturally grow up with. I think imposter syndrome is really huge. Sanwana mentioned it earlier as well, but I think that's something that I'm very prone to feeling, and especially in an environment where there aren't a lot of people that I feel like look like me, or in higher successful leadership positions, it's really easy to feel like, oh, do I actually belong here, and can I actually succeed? And I think it takes a lot of internal courage to still pursue dreams and something that you would want to do without necessarily having, to use Justin's terms, like that trail blazed for you. So I would say that's maybe the biggest challenge in getting over, even internally, like what your own internal concerns are, like getting over them and still trying your best to do what you can do. And I just want to encourage all of you guys who are maybe feeling that way or struggling with that, like do it, because you can.
Awesome. And so, last but not least, and I'm so interested in your perspective on this as a woman of color, and I think the importance of cross-sectionality, and especially in leadership as well, because you are what Justin was. You've been the trailblazer who's been the first in a number of situations. I'd like to get your perspective on that.
Yeah. So I'll say a couple of things. One is awareness. Awareness meaning providing young girls or women of color at an early age, providing them with awareness of what a career looks like in tech. I'll say that I didn't really know. I had a couple of high school teachers who introduced engineering to me, and even as I went on to college, I still was trying to figure out what is engineering, even though that was one of my majors. So I think increasing awareness overall between either women of color, making sure that we're helping to increase awareness within our communities and other women, parents, educators, that's one thing, so that we can increase, improve the pipeline and increase representation of women in tech. Another one is sponsorship and mentorship is another one. I think as leaders in a tech organization start looking at their current employee population and identify employees who might be successors in their role in the future, really being intentional about making sure that they are looking at a diverse population of candidates, at looking at women, at people of color, and being intentional about it, because you have to be intentional about it if you really want to make a difference. And I think it's possible that sometimes, unconsciously, some people may not do it and may end up, looking at potential successors who kind of remind them of them or look like them, whether it's unconscious or not. But I think being intentional about, as leaders in an organization, identify who are going to be the future leaders of the organization now, really being intentional about making sure that outlook includes a diverse population of employees.
Thank you. Well, we've come to the point now where we're about to wrap. We've run over a little bit, but I do want to leave the audience with a few closing remarks. So first, I want to thank Justin, Sarah, and Sanwana for joining us, and the team at Go Health for allowing them to take some time out of their busy workday to be with us. As I look forward and I celebrate this month, this day, Women's Equal Pay Day, Women's History Month. And I take it personal. I also think it's a professional thing as well. There are so many things that women have contributed to our society across the spectrum of ethnic, gender identity, age. And so I look to the men who might see this to do two things, as I mentioned earlier. One, ask yourself, what can I do? Two, ask someone else, what can you do? And then third, rethink the way that your current mentor-mentee relationships are working with the women that you support and or lead. And look for an opportunity not only to play the role as teacher, but to play the role as student. For many of us, the topic of diversity and inclusion creates great opportunities to learn. And where I think the big win is the Moneyball play, it's a great opportunity for all of our businesses to thrive with a diverse set of ideas and initiatives that can allow our businesses to press forward. Thank you all for joining us. I think we're close to a wrap, and keep the faith. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone.